Hello, my masters. Diane Kendrick here, bringing to you live the Break Soul Contracts Spreadsheet. Now, you've heard me say it before, but the beauty of this work is that we're bringing the strategy and the science in, the rewiring of the brain with the spirituality. This part of the process is the brain stuff. It's about dissolving and neutralizing things that you have thought to be in the truth. Now, just remember, I've spoken to you guys about this before also. There is always two polarities. There is always a negative and there is always a positive. At the precise moment of charge, which is a memory, precise moment of charge, which is a memory, your brain only brings in the positive, the negative or the positive. It doesn't bring in both. Now, depending on whether your brain brings in the negative or the positive, depends on how you then view that person, that situation, that subject. So what's happened for a lot of us in our relationships is something has happened, our subconscious has called it negative or positive, and from that place forward, we have associated fear, resentment, shame, and guilt with the negative things, the things that the people did to us, the things that happened to us. So we are associating shame. Feel how these words feel in your body. Guilt, not good enough, all those types of things. If it's been a positive memory, what we tend to do, if we just bring in the positive part of the whole memory and the process, we go into infatuation or into fantasy. When I get to financially free, everything will be great. Nothing will be bad. We're not thinking about the not so good things. We're not pulling into the ball game, what's going to actually be the reality of it. Because as with everything to be whole in actuality needs both the negative and the positive. I want you to keep this in mind as you go through this spreadsheet, because if you have got a soul contract with someone from a previous past life, you've created a bond, a vow, a contract, an unspoken contract, this invisible cord between you and other people in your life that keeps you stuck and keeps you caught in the drama. Then having this awareness of the negative, the positive, and it all having to be whole is crucial in understanding and cognitively getting the next part of the process. So take a moment now to remember, as you're working through this spreadsheet, a lot of the memories are going to be of a negative charge. In that moment before the awareness that you have got right now, in this wise, profound you that you are now, you pulled in the negative and then your brain gave it meaning. And then we continued on this path of believing that. And when we do that, that's the meaning we've given it. Then our future is created by our present moment. Our present moment is created by the memory of the past. So if we can go back and essentially remap that memory with love and joy and gratitude and wholeness and gratitude and gratitude and gratitude, then the present moment is going to change. These cords, these invisible cords between you and other people are going to be severed. They will no longer have a hold over you. And you can still have relationships with these people, because let's be frank now, often these people that we have these soul contracts with is our mum, our dad, our siblings, our friends, our partners, our ex-partners, and we just can't get them out of our life. Or if we do, you still feel like they've got this hold over you. Or perhaps it is your mum or dad, your sister or your brother, and you have to keep seeing them. Maybe it's even your child. You'll know it. And when you take all the masks off and drop deep down into the seat of your stomach and you feel it, you'll know who you need to do this process with. So I've set this up so you can absolutely continue to come back and do it again and again and again and again. And it's a lot. There's lots of little pieces that I've pulled in and put into this spreadsheet. And I want you to do that. I want you to go through and do I jump in the deep end and do the hardest one first and sever those things and free myself. But you need to decide. Sometimes it's a little bit too much for you if you haven't done a lot of this work before. Just start with a more gentle relationship. But just know by the time you get to the end of this module, by the time you get to the end of this masterclass, you should have no massive charge to any relationship in your life. You're freeing yourself, you're empowering yourself, you're giving yourself space to set clear boundaries, choose the life and the path that you want forward, and not be tangled up or entangled in these dynamics, in these relationship dynamics with people or food or addictions or habits or money or other energies out there, that you can just be you. You can be in your truth and presence most of the time, because we've got to keep in mind that we are humans in this human body, in this human experience, but there's some things that we can do to make it much more enjoyable for you. So let's get stuck into it. I am going to share my screen. So you should be able to see me and my screen. So this is the soul contract spreadsheet. And the first thing that you will need to do is go up to File. So you'll receive this on your dashboard, and you'll need to go to File, click on it, come down to Make a Copy. In here, it will come up with Copy of Soul Contract Spreadsheet. So you've made a copy. You're going to open your drive or wherever you're going to save it. I've saved it in the Mastermind Soul Contracts folders where all the information is over there. So that's a process that you need to go through. Then obviously you go, okay, I won't now because I don't need to save it, but that's what you need to do. When I first did one of these masterminds, it took me about half a day. And I think I ended up ringing my sister and saying, I'm trying to save a copy of this thing and I can't work it out. So anyway, this is how you do it. I don't want you to spend half a day if you're not good on the computer, like I haven't been. I had to break some bonds, sever some bonds with this thing. Yeah, I want to tell you how to do it. This is how you do it. You want to get a copy of this because we've got the example sheet here. Esme's got her, yeah, keep looking up and leaning over because Esme's given me her doll and some special rocks here. So that's just a bit of behind the scenes. Let me move it. Okay, so you're going to go File, Make a Copy of the soul contract spreadsheet, and save it wherever you want. Okay, so now you've all saved it. You're not spending half a day trying to do it like I did. Two things you need to know before we get started. This is the example sheet. This is real life examples of clients of mine that I've been through, and I wanted to share them with you because I wanted them to be real life. So these are real examples, and the reason that we do an example is so your brain can start to understand the process. So I'm going to pick a handful. I'm going to go through them with you. And then as you start getting the concept, there's little notes the whole way through, like wherever you see one of these little black buttons, if you click on it, there'll be a note there. So it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. So even if you're not going to watch this video or you're doing the example and you don't want to be stopping and starting the video, just be guided by these little black tabs on each of the columns. Okay, so first things first, we've got the example. Don't be overwhelmed. It's a lot of writing. It's a lot of information, just one step at a time. Now, the other thing that you're going to do is in these processes, it's about rewiring the brain. To rewire your brain, we often have to confuse it. We need to scramble it. So if you don't get confused at some point through this and start to get agitated and frustrated, you're probably not doing it right. Like the goal is, most of us, because a lot of us here are entrepreneurs or high achievers, because that's why you're working with me, we like to know and we like to be focused and we like to take very solid, steady action steps towards our goals. But this is about being confused. This is like taking it right back to ground zero and rebuilding all the neurons, all the ideas, all the possibilities, and just completely changing and reconditioning and unlearning everything that you've ever learned. So if you do feel like that, don't chastise yourself. Don't give yourself a hard time about it. Know that the breakthrough is just on the other side of the confusion, or perhaps think about it differently and think the breakthrough is actually the confusion. If I can get you into a confused state of mind, half of my job is nearly already done, because a lot of us won't let ourselves go there because it's uncomfortable. So please remember, if you're starting to feel confused, big tick, that's part of the process. As you do that, as I'm learning new things and I'm getting a bit agitated and confused and my brain's searching for the information and I feel very vulnerable and I feel like a dummy and I'm like out here by myself throwing things around, no one can see me. I catch myself and we change our state. So we want to change our body language. We want to put our shoulders back and you want to smile and you want to nod. And you're going to do that a lot when you work with me, because I'm going to press some buttons. I'm going to offer some information. I'm going to do some scrambling. And when we do that, I want you to feel it and let it flow through you. And you tell yourself, I'm confused. I've got this. Yes, I know what I'm doing. And the voice in your head is going to be like, no, you don't. You have no idea what you're doing. Is this woman crazy? No, you're crazy. What are you doing this for? What are you wasting your time and your money for? This isn't worth it. Go out there and do this, this, and this. Keep procrastinating the rest of your life because you're not worth it. Anyway, you get the drill because you all have that voice in your head as well. So let's get into it. I'm going to give you an example, run you through a couple of examples, and then I want you to go over click on the other tab here, and then this is your turn. So this is a nice fresh sheet. So you can go and watch the video. You can absorb the examples and the answers and the concept and the strategy through this. We'll scramble your brain, and then you're going to have this beautiful, nice, fresh sheet to go through the process. So here is the examples. The soul family. Your soul family is basically anyone that you have come into contact with this lifetime. My belief is there is no coincidences. Your mum, your dad's your dad, your mum's your mum. You've got brothers and sisters, your son, your friends, your ex-partners, the addictions, the habits, the money. You've called that in. You've created that. You have brought those people, those energies, those things into your life because you need to learn a lesson. And these people and these things are there to teach you the lessons. So we start with the dad, start with the big kahuna right at the top, dad and then mum, sibling, child. So what I want you to go through is, as I say these names, just notice how it feels in your body. So when I say father or dad, what happens for you? What's the feelings come up? Can you feel it in your body? And just tune in to where you can feel it, because wherever you can feel it in your body is going to tell you a story. The next one is mum. What's the feelings come up when I say mother to you or mum? Where do you feel it in your body? Just go through this process with me now. This is the healing process starting to unfold. Siblings, brothers or sisters. So work your way through them and just go, yep, this one and this one and this one. And how does that feel? And what's my relationship feel like with them? Now, child, this is usually one of the hardest. You probably don't want to start with severing cords, invisible cords to your children. It's a tough one. But yep, you've got to make that decision. So child, so think about your child or your children and how that feels in your body. Your friend, when we do this, a friend is going to come to mind and you're going to know straight away who you need to do this process on. Your ex-partner or your current partner, these people have all been presented to us in our life to teach us lessons, even the ones that aren't there physically anymore. An addiction or a habit, and as an example here, I've used basically binging or something excessive, because that's what the masses tend to do. They binge on things or they get excessive about stuff. And the examples that we've used here, just to help you sort of pinpoint some, is eating, drinking, always being right, or always being wrong. Now, you'll be one of the two of those, and I want you to uncover which one you are. When you're having a conversation, are you one of those people like, oh, I don't really know, and you probably know better than me? Or are you like the one with the hands on the hip and say, hey, listen, I know the way, this is the only way, and you're probably doing it and you don't even realize it. But we all have a dominant state there. We're more right or more wrong in our internal representation of the world. I want you to discover that and give it an identity so we can start to transmute it, so we can start to make it more resourceful for you. Because if you're attached to either side, as you've heard me say, it's not resourceful. You're off the swing of the pendulum. So are you one of those people that is always right or always wrong? And the drama, right? This is probably the one that I started with, the addiction to drama. I didn't even realize it. I realized when I did the process that I was taught, this is different. This is my IP. This is my content. But when I first did something similar, I realized that I had an attachment and a connection to the drama of food and eating. I was eating healthy, but every single day, so much of my time and effort and energy was focused on my next meal. And it was a subconscious thing. As soon as I would eat, I would be thinking about the next meal and where it was going to come from and how I was going to prepare it and where I was going to get it. When I severed that cord, it left me, first of all, the inside changed. It left me with so much more time and space and energy that I didn't even realize that I was using up, chasing the next meal. And I've raised the standard of my life. So for me, it wasn't cigarettes or alcohol in this instance anyway. It was literally drama that I had created around getting my next healthy meal. From the outside, everything looked fine because I didn't even know I was doing it. I'd eat my breakfast in the morning. I'd spend the rest of the day, time, effort, energy. How am I going to get my meals? How am I going to get them if I'm going out? Time and effort and energy, making sure I'd go near a shop that I could get the food from. And when I severed this, it just stopped all that. I eat better than I ever have eaten now, but there's not this really heavy attachment to it. So I just wanted to share that in case that's helpful to any of you. And the other big kahuna, as I was going through this process and we were doing it all on people initially, I was doing it on the people. And I was like, oh my gosh, it dawned on me, because there's a couple of you in the mastermind right now and doing soul school and coming to our retreats who've got some real invisible cords, let's say, some soul contracts with money. You have made a vow in a past life or somewhere along the line, because of a memory, because of a thought, because of a process, because of something, that you vow never to have money, that you're going to stay in poverty, and you're going to sacrifice all of your life. So you just start to get ahead, and then what happens? It all just falls out from under your feet again, and you can just never get ahead. It's like this vicious cycle, this vicious circle of never having enough money. So quite possibly, guys, you have made a vow in a past life, consciously or subconsciously. A lot of the time it's unspoken rules, that this energy is here to teach you a lesson. And as I said in the welcome, many of you, because I watch, I observe, I witness, many of you have actually learned the lessons from these peoples or these ideas, places or situations. But because of the way you're wired, you're running the same pattern in your head, which means you're getting the same outcomes, which means you're getting the same feelings, which means then you're creating more of the same shit on a different day. It's got to stop. You will not be free. You will not be able to grow your business to $1 million business, or get the body of your dreams, or the relationship of your dreams, or the finances of your dreams, or all of those things if you're in paradox, if you're being held back by these invisible cords. I noticed I've started doing this, invisible cords. So we need to clear them. So that's what this module is about, and it's extremely powerful. I want you to share it around. I want you to come and open this and do it at any stage that you feel like something has got a hook into you, an energetic hook, an anchor, something pulling you back. First thing to note is it's no one's fault. It's not your fault. You're not a bad person. It's just the way of the world. And moving forward from this point forward, you're going to have a very different interpretation on relationships, places, situations, times, energy, money, and all the thing. So let's get into it. We've been through, I believe your soul family is anyone, anything, things that are coming into your life. Now, the next part that you need to do is insert the name of the person in the column. Not too bad. So if you're choosing to do your dad first, you'd write his name here. If you're doing your mum, you write her name. If you're doing your sibling or brother, you pick one and you put their name in there. If you're really jumping in the deep end, you're going to put your child's name in here, but just go through one at a time. So we'll talk about dad first because he's on the top of the list. Tune in, see where you feel it in the body, and just take a side note, take a mental note of that, because your body's going to give you clues, and quite often the energy is stuck in your body. And if you close your eyes and think of your dad, and you notice that you're quite tight and tense around, maybe the right shoulder, then perhaps you're carrying something in your body there that's holding you, that's hooking you, that's keeping you stuck. So we want to get some really deep awareness around where you're feeling it in your body. Okay, so then the next thing that we move on to is current relationship, status, or story. Now notice the wording. I said story for a reason, because that's exactly what it is. It's an interpretation, your internal interpretation of the events that have happened. And not knowing the information that you know now, you're usually pulling in the negative. So it's a story, and I want you just to whack it out there. Don't think about it too much. Don't write too much. Don't go into story too much. As a coach, you will notice people always want to tell you their story because it evokes emotion. It makes them feel important. Their ego is getting ticked off. So what we want to do is we want to basically subside the ego here. We want the ego to feel like it's got enough just to sit in the corner and be quiet for a minute. So this is sort of feeding your ego. So I want the story. I want you to get the story in a couple of words or in a paragraph out here. So here's the example. Remember, note in the top, if it's got that little tab, note in a few words, no more than a paragraph, share your current story about your relationship with this person or thing. Okay, so the first example is with Dad. His name is Barry. Dad has been really hard on us and I'm scared of him. Nothing I ever do is good enough. And if he can be bothered to talk to me at all, it's just to tell me how shit I am. How he has worked hard his whole life to give me a private school education. He's sacrificed, and now I'm doing fluffy spiritual stuff. So I don't know, maybe you can resonate with that or not. But if you're a human, you have a father. whether he's still here in physical form or not. There's lots of different things, lots of different types of relationships. Let's go in and give the story in a couple of words or a brief paragraph, the story about the relationship with your dad as it is prior to doing this work. Be brave, guys, be bold, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And this work can be very moving. And so you want to make sure you allow yourself integration time after this as well. All right. So then we're going to scale it. We're going to give it a metric on a charge or a scale from 1 to 10. 10 being weak, it doesn't bother me at all. I've got a great relationship with my dad. When I think of him, there's no pain or suffering or heaviness or tension in my body. I just think of my dad and smile and go, I'm going for a coffee with him tomorrow. I can't wait to catch up. Or maybe if your dad's passed on and you've come to peace and you've really healed that relationship with father figure, then it could be totally cool. If you're doing this process, it's probably not, and that's okay. So 10 would be totally toxic. I can't deal with it. What is your charge to the relationship with father? I want you to type it in there. So obviously when we do these, they're quite high. The charge on it is feeling pretty toxic and feeling very stuck by it and very gripped and held by it and not being able to move on. So we want to get super clear about what the charge is. And as you can see, they're all quite high, all from 10 down to 8. Yep. Okay. So moving across, there's a little tab here. So you want to read it. Memory. Remember back to the most charged memory of an interaction. So this is an interaction with you and father figure. And the second thing is, okay, so we'll do the memory first. So 1, memory. Remember back to the most charged memory of an interaction. This can be recent or it can be way back when you're a kid. You'll come up. When you can set some sacred space and sit here and do it, might take some time for the first few, but you'll get into flow and they'll just start popping up and coming. Don't think about it too much. There is no right and wrong. You just want to get something in there. So this example in particular, the memory was at a family barbecue when I was telling everyone about my business goals, and he completely ashamed and embarrassed me by referring to and reminding me and the whole group basically of when they got fired. Pardon me, and was saying, you know, you can't keep a job down. How do you expect to run a business? So I felt, okay, hold on, I won't jump ahead. Okay, so the next thing that you do, that's the memory. Number 2 is the triggering trait. At that precise moment of charge, so in that memory, and when it was at its highest, what action or inaction behavior was being displayed by that person? So as he was saying that to you, what were the actions or the inactions, the behavior that you interpreted that he was displaying? So in this circumstance, the traits or behaviors that this client saw in her father was disrespectful, attacking, disapproval, and like he is better than me. So next question up here is a little tab. Just work your way across. When the person displays that behavior, what are the feelings coming up for you? So going back into that memory, when he was doing that behavior, remember now how you felt. So in this instance, in this example, she felt self-loathing, useless, scared, you know, the language, the dialogue, why even bother? She felt ashamed, guilty, worthless, pointless, lonely. She felt outcasted and like there is something inherently wrong with her or with me as she's filling this out. So write down here all the feelings that are coming up for you. No holes barred, just put it all down there. If there's not enough space, you just come over here to the side and you can move this up and down. See, you can give yourself more space. So you can go ahead and do that. What I would have given for someone to show me actually how to do all this stuff on the computer, so I didn't have to be doing the mind work and the computer stuff. So anyway, if you need more space, or you can actually change if you want to make it smaller so you can see it, you can just come up here and just make it smaller. See, so we'll change that back to 10. Okay, good. Next one across. When you perceive that feeling, what action or inaction behavior did you do or not do? So he said that this thing happened. I felt like this. When I felt like this is the action, inaction, or behavior that I take. So in this circumstance, when she was feeling like this, when we sort of dissected her behaviors, her actions or inactions, She would go into deep denial. She would stop feeling and numb herself and retreat and retract from life and conversation. And that's pretty big. That's pretty big awareness to have around yourself. So once you've uncovered that, we move over into the soul lesson. Once again, there's a tab up the top here, a little black thing. So it's got some comments and notes here for you to guide you and keep you going. So this is the deep dive. This is the one that might take some time. Now remember, all benefits and drawbacks, because they're only a perception anyway, positive and negative, all positive and negative, are conserved through time and space. There is never only one side of the coin. Never a negative without a positive, never the dark without the light. So what is the truth? What is the truth? What are the gifts of this relationship and this connection? What has your dad taught you? What has the relationship with father taught you? So as I was saying earlier, quite often in the past, we had a negative perception of what was said and done, and we're avoiding the positive because that's what school teaches. That's what education teaches us. It's what we've been taught and wired to do. So this is the moment of homecoming. This is the lesson. Once you get this lesson, you can still have relationship with father, but you're not going to be entangled in the web of this web here, self-loathing, useless, scared. Because what's happening for a lot of you is, depending on these people's behavior, your mum, your dad, your sibling, your son, your daughter, your friend, it's affecting your life. It's energetically affecting your ability to show up, your capacity to create. And like I said, you can still have this relationship with them, but you don't have to be entangled and weaved into their drama. I'm going to speak to you about the drama triangle, and it's so powerful. I can't actually wait to tell you about that, but I'll stay focused for now. So in this circumstance, the soul lesson for this, this beautiful client was, and sometimes it takes time to get to, but just bear with yourself and read the examples and pick the lesson that you learned in that moment, which is quite often the opposite to the thing that happened. Anyway, because of the high standard he set for me, I created an income which keeps my family safe and grants us freedom. And in this moment, as I was taking her through this process, it was like massive aha. And she was like, oh my gosh, because he treated me like that, because he said that, because he had such a high standard of me, I have held a high standard of myself, and I've got an income that means that my family is financially free. My husband doesn't need to work. My kids get to go to this, and this, and then it aligns with her values so she can live a life of values. So because he was such an a-hole, I seeked out a partner who is caring and understanding. So because her dad was so hard, she went and picked someone the exact opposite to that. So now she's thanking her dad for being so hard on her, because it meant that she cultivated and created this beautiful, nourishing relationship with this man in her life. And at the end, she realized that his disapproval back then was actually him caring about her and trying to protect me, or trying to protect her. Being a father role, doing all the things, setting a high standard, making all the sacrifices. He didn't do that because he was an a-hole. My belief is all people are just, humans are doing the best they can with the information that they've got. We are not designed to be awful people. We're designed to do what we think with the techniques and the tools and the understanding that we've got. We're just doing our best. And when you can fully feel that and let go and let that feeling dissolve, you can have some really beautiful, healthy relationships with yourself and those around you. So this lady went from a 9, like seething, not even wanting to talk to her dad or literally about him, because this is only one memory, right? And the memories all stack and stack and stack and stack. And there was childhood stuff, and there was resentment and anger and guilt, to literally being able to pick up the phone and call her dad and tell him, Dad, thank you. You know, oh gosh, I nearly feel like crying now. It's so powerful, guys. Thank you. I love you. You are hard on me, but this says that person had changed the meaning of it. You were so hard on me. You held me to such a high standard. I thought this, but now I know that. And then he was bawling, she was bawling, and they've come together in union. They may still not meet up every day for a coffee or for lunch, but now they have the freedom to move forward with a really beautiful relationship. All because she had the courage to go through and do this spreadsheet. So she went from beautiful JM, I'm not going to give names here, from a 9, nearly 10, not wanting to talk to the a-hole, down to a 3. Love and light and goosebumps on your skin. And yeah, just this absolute feeling of ultimate love and light and knowing and remembering, which is what I'm all about. So I'm just going to stop the share for a moment. And that was pretty big. And I just want to check in with you. I want to see how you're all going. I am going to do one more example. I'm going to go through it a little bit quicker to keep these videos short. If they're anywhere over 20 minutes, it's too hard to download. So let's get into the next one. Sharing screen again. Share. Here we go. Let's do mum. Is mum what we need to do? No, money's what we need to do. Okay. So now we've done a person, you're going to work your way down. I might do another video with a few more examples and just break them up. Actually, no, yeah, what I'll do, I'll do mum. Let's do mum, and then I'll do another video with brother or sister and so on. Okay, mum, let's go. So now you've done one, we should be able to go this quite quick. You write her name here. Remember up here, the little tab, in a few words, no more than a paragraph, share your current story about your relationship with this person or this thing. Mum criticizes me at every move. She is more worried about what everybody thinks of her than my well-being. She is self-centered and in every conversation ends in an argument. It's getting to the point where I avoid spending time with her. And as I leave every time feeling brokenhearted, frustrated. So this lady was at an 8, like intense, on, maybe some of you can resonate with that. Now, remember up here, you're just moving across the memory. Remember back to the most charged memory of this interaction, of one of these interactions. And 2, actually, no, memory first. So the memory, she called me and accused me of manipulating and playing games and stopping her from seeing my children. She's constantly complaining that I never go to visit her, even though I see her twice every week. And then, so the next thing you want to do is the triggering traits. At the precise moment of charge in the memory, and it was at its highest, what action or inaction, the behavior was being displayed by her mum. So here it was selfish, victim, manipulation, and attacking. Same thing here. When the person displays that behavior, what are the feelings coming up for you? So when her mum, in this woman's interpretation, is being selfish, victim, manipulation, and attacking, how does that make her feel? Angry, dumbfounded, aggressive, unheard, belittled, trapped, frustrated. Now, guys, someone that feels these things, self-loathing, useless, scared, why bother, ashamed, guilty, worthless, pointless, lonely, outcast, like there's something wrong with me, angry, dumbfounded, aggressive, unheard, belittled, trapped, frustrated. Someone that feels like that is not making much momentum in their life. Now, the reason they're feeling like this is because of an external source, another human, event, time, place, or energy. We are giving our power out. We have got to sever these contracts and free ourselves. So regardless of how your bloody mother or father or brother or sister or partner act, that you are free to be. You are free to be who you were designed and born to be. And let me tell you right now, let you in on a little secret. It's not these things. They're all part of it. You can't have the love, the light, and the empowerment without this. But too many of us get trapped and stuck here. We get stuck here in these words, in these emotions, in these feelings. Procrastination, overeating, not exercising, self-abuse, drama, fighting, all starts because you feel like this, because you perceived something back then that was crappy. You didn't pull into it, the positive or the lesson, but you are now. So next thing, when I feel like that, when you perceive that feeling, what action or inaction behavior do you do or not do? So the example here, when she feels like this because of that, and the meaning she's given this over here, she lashes out, and this is her words exactly. I lash out and I behave like a crazed lunatic. I act like her and I feel ashamed. Speaking and acting like a child, having a tantrum, I feel stuck and betrayed. So someone feeling like that, they're not going to make much momentum in their life, their bodies, their physical finances, the thing. They're going to stay stuck going around in circles, getting drawn back into the drama triangle all the time. So the soul lesson for this lady, extremely powerful. I'll read through the example again. Dive deep, all benefits and drawbacks are conserved through time and space. There is never only one side of the coin, never a negative without a positive. No dark without the light. So what is the truth? The gift of this relationship and this connection. The opposite is always present. So go back to the specific moment of charge and ask yourself, how did this serve me? in this moment up until now. So you might have to dig deep. These answers may not come straight away because there's no neurons for them. We have to build them. We have to create them because we haven't been taught to do it. So go deep. Get in your little groups. You've got accountability groups. If you've been working with me recently, we set you all up to do the soul purpose process. If you're watching this further down the track, get yourself accountability partner that you can go through this with. It's so powerful. Someone to ask the question, someone to talk you through it. And then in fair exchange, swap places and then ask the questions and receive. Okay, so here's the soul lesson for this beautiful lady. And this is always my favorite part, goosebumps on the skin stuff. So her soul lesson was, I am an adult and I have a choice. I can set clear boundaries and I can express them with love. It has taught me to speak up for myself and to find a healthy and respectful way to have those conversations. So she went from, it was a 8 down to I didn't fill it in, but it was a 2.5. She went from an 8, like not wanting to hang around her mum, in the course of about 20 minutes going through this, to a 2.5. Absolutely phenomenal. One more super quick, because now you're starting to get the feel for it and the understanding and a bit of rhythm and flow. Same thing. What do you want to do? Brother, sister. So the name is Lisa. The current relationship story or status. Remember the tab's up there. Just click on it. It's going to tell you what it wants. One word, spoiled brat. She's vindictive and competitive. She's a drama queen who always seems to pull me into her web, and I end up exhausted and picking up all the pieces. She's at a 9, so she's ready to cut that relationship with her sister any moment. So the memory, remember up here, click on the tab. What's the memory? She asked to borrow money. She still owes me 5K from last time she borrowed money. She never paid it back. When I said no, she brought up the past and manipulated it. So I felt bad and like she's my responsibility and I should be protecting her. And by not giving her the money, it's all my fault. She is sick and depressed. Well, it's my fault she's sick and depressed. So the traits that we're looking for here, remember up here, what trait at the precise moment of charge, what is the inaction or the action, the behavior being displayed by her in your interpretation. So the traits are lack, blame, and it's everybody else's fault. All right, how does she feel? How does that make her feel when this is happening with her sister? Upset, confused, angry, like a bad person. When she feels that, she eats rubbish food and suppresses her emotions. She offers to give to everybody around her just so she will feel good enough and feel that whole. So she exhausts herself by running around. Who's nodding and smiling and saying, if it's not my sister or brother or my mother, there's someone in my life, or this is what I do. It's so powerful. Eat rubbish food and suppress my emotions. I overgive to everybody around me. I exhaust myself running around and doing and being everything to everyone, just literally to fill that gap. My family suffer. So it was her husband and her kids, because I then become an irritable, irrational bitch. I'll put my hand up for that one. I definitely have done that too. Anyway, the soul lesson, go up, read the tab, soul lesson, gratitude, so much gratitude. Gratitude is what came through for this lady first. I have money. I have the money to give and share. This event has shown me the pattern that I've run, and it's come from a place of lack. Now I feel true abundance. And you could see her get tears in her eyes when she talked about this. And I understand that the true abundance doesn't come from money or from rescuing people, but from my truth, by standing in my power and setting my boundaries and showing her how to do the same by being and doing it with love and awareness. So here, guys, I didn't mention this earlier. She went down to a 1 and was just like mind blown. Wow, what just happened? You need to initial it. And obviously here it says insert date and initials here. And then this part ties in to the soul contract, which is in a PDF form on the Teachable dashboard, which you're going to go into, print out, write your names on it, say it out loud, either bring it to the retreat with you to put in that freaking fire and burn it for good, or have some sort of fire or put it in the bin or rip it up. You're just going to, this is the contract and I am severing it. Anything spoken or unspoken, but anyway, go over there. And this is just another level, another thing that's going to break any of the contracts. So she's gone down to a 1 and just totally wowed. Son, daughter, I can get through these super quick now because I don't have to keep explaining what happens up here. So obviously your turn is over here. So you just do exactly what I did and go through the whole process. I'm grateful little shit. So this is about someone's son. I'm grateful little shit. Doesn't acknowledge me after everything I've done. His love is conditional. As long as it's going his way, he will talk to me. If not, I won't hear from him for weeks. I worry sick about him, but he doesn't seem to care. Won't look after himself and gets into financial trouble. Then he asks me for money and then he blows it. I don't know how to stop helping him. My brain knows that I'm enabling him, but his behavior, my brain knows it's enabling his behavior, but I can't stop. So she's attached, she's caught up. There's this invisible, not so invisible cord holding her stuck to her son. So she's at a 9.5. She's at her wit's end. So the memory, and she's just like, there's so many, where do I start? Recently, while I was sick and I asked him to drop me some medicine, he was too busy, of course. And then I found out that he was just going to the gym and for coffee with his friends. So you can imagine she was livid, right? After everything we've done as parents. Well, I was sick and barely able to get out of bed, and he accused me passively, aggressively attacking his partner. So this lady's at home, sick in bed, and he won't drop the medicine over and then just starts attacking her, saying that you've been dissing on his partner. Found myself in bed, sick, dealing with the drama of he said, she said, BS. So the traits that she saw in that moment was inconsiderate, narcissistic, and self-absorbed. That makes her feel unseen, unheard, like a piece of shizzy, a doormat, stuck, guilty, shameful, because his dad is the same. She's not going to be the only one in this boat. So she realized through this process that she's feeling stuck, guilty, shameful because she chose his dad and then stayed with his dad too long. And so obviously we need to break the contract with ex-partner as well. So she feels guilty for that. Stayed with him for too long. Like his life and everything that goes wrong in it is my fault. So she felt that betrayed, dismissed, hurt, and broken. And when she's feeling like that, she gets physically ill, like her body cracks up on her. So it's like a full physiological effect. Gets passive aggressive herself and pretends she's okay, but sort of lashes out and then justifying herself, constantly wondering where she went wrong, thinking she's fundamentally flawed and it's her fault. He's like that and their relationship is like that. So this is to say, once you sever this bond and go through the meditation and all the other parts of the process, write down the contract, do all that, look at the drama triangle and everything, that she can still have a relationship with her son, but once again, not be entangled in the energies and the web of drama that other people carry out. You can continue to grow and learn and give and show up, but just have this really solidarity, I think is the word, but this real reunion, this real union with self, where you do set clear boundaries, where you're not getting pulled into the drama and you can just go full steam ahead in your own life. And honestly, because you change, it's contagious. Other people change around you. And just because of whatever their behaviors is irrelevant to the way that you feel because it's external to you. You've got what you need now inside of you so you can continue on your life and your journey, and then they'll behave X, Y, or Z and it won't matter. You know what you want, you know who you are, and you know how to dissolve it. So this poor lady was ill. She was very sick, and she realized through this process that it was because of the pattern she was running to get her son's attention, and it wasn't working. It was making her feel even more sick, passive aggressive, and wondering where she went wrong. So big aha moment for her, the soul lesson that she doesn't need to rely on anybody else for her happiness. It's within her right now. I am my own person, and although he was once part of me, so in my tummy, and this is sometimes where it gets a bit convoluted with kids, he was in my tummy, he's my DNA, he's my cells. He is now his own person, and in fact, an adult person. I am independent and empowered to speak my truth from love and light. And it's so freeing to feel this. Once again, when this lady was having this aha moment, like total goosebumps, tears, the clouds parting. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what have I uncovered here? This process, this strategy, and then you pull it all together. And then you do it in a collective with each other is so extremely powerful. So there are her initials. She would initial that, or you would initial that. You put the date in, and she's gone down to a 2. So still a little bit of work to do, but she definitely will get there. So then we have friend, Tanya, been friends since we were 9 years old. I've moved away and often share my journey on social media. Every time I post, I'm bombarded with passive aggressive comments. So this lady's at an 8 with that, so fairly charged to it. The memory, most recent memory was she posted a Facebook photo with the kids and family, and they attacked her, or the friend or the friendship group attacked her because they hadn't told the friends the plans for Christmas and that she was back on talking terms with her partner. So so her friends were annoyed with her and attacking her. I'm like, how dare you? You're not a good friend. You haven't told us about this. And why do we have to find out things on social media? So the traits that she wasn't liking was the lack of understanding, making about herself. So her friend was making it all about herself and projecting out, blaming my client for being selfish, and manipulation and lack of trust. So when this happens, my client would feel abandoned, unsafe, distrust, vulnerable, frustrated, defensive, trapped, overwhelmed, emotional, sad, and unstable. It would like consume her. So when she felt like that, she would retreat or attack. She would fret like an animal in fright or fight, like fully fret, not be able to sleep, not be able to eat. And she would feel it. And once again, similar to this lady up here, she would manifest it physically into an illness or an ailment and get hot and sweaty with it. And then she would question everything, every move that she made, every single thing to, oh, is that right? Did I do that? Can I post that? Can I say that? And then it was just affecting all areas of her life. So once again, another enormous, massive cloud parting moment. And I just feel so blessed to do this work and facilitate and see people through this. Confidence, empowerment. So the lessons that she learned, evolving, owning who I am, authentic, freedom, light. And you can see here through the sharing that people have their own style. You're going to have your own style. You don't have to copy what these people have done up here. They've got their own language. They've got their own dialogue. This lady, quite expressive and just big words coming out, expressive and creative and confidence and empowerment. And she went from 8 down to a 3. So still a little bit of work to do here, but you know, this is only one part of the process. You still got the meditation over there. You still got the drama triangle that you can really dive deep into and see where you're persecuting, being a victim, or rescuing, and then that's going to take it to next level again. All right, let's get through ex-partner. This is a big one for people. This was actually part of the reason I started this whole module, is because there's so many women out there with ex-narcissist partners who they have kids with that they just can't get away from. And I started questioning. I was like, oh my gosh, why? Why is it that these women get themselves into these situations and they can't get out because they've got kids with these dudes and they're being controlled and puppeted by these men in their life? And I wanted to help you. I wanted to help the collective. And I started asking questions like, what role do we play as the collective of women? Like, what role do we play in this dynamic that continues to happen out there in the world? And that sort of wasn't getting me very far. So I created this ex-partner. His name was Will. That is supposed to be Will. And we won't put his name in capitals, not that it matters, but there you go. Will is my ex-husband who continues to harass me and has no respect for my time. He constantly undermines me and everything is a fight. So she's at a 10. She's ready to, she's done. She is done. So the memory, most recent memory, tried to make me feel guilty for going away on the weekend, even though it's his weekend to have the kids. He refuses to agree to anything I say. He's sickly nice to me in front of people, and behind closed doors, he attacks me. The traits that she recognizes as sneaky, vindictive, dishonest, and unreliable. And how does that make her feel? Guilty, helpless, out of control, frustrated, dishonest, makes her feel dishonest, like she's going crazy, because it's this polarity of nice, 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 and then evil, evil, evil. And then like she's starting to imagine things. Now, when she does that, she justifies, validates, blames, victimizes herself. She'll yell, lose control, say nasty things that she doesn't mean, and then just question her own integrity and her own worth and her own self. So this is a huge one as well. So he has been here to bring our children into the world. He has taught me some of the biggest lessons in my life, which have been the most painful. I choose my path. I have everything inside of me now that I need. And she was basically saying there was a part of her that felt like hold on a sec. She needed him to be whole. And after this process, she no longer felt like that. So she went from a 10 down to a 1. Can you even understand and believe the gratitude of this woman to go from such a bound up relationship where she felt puppeted and controlled to like, I'm just going to tell him, and this is how it is. And this is what I say. She is no longer entangled in his web. He has got his web of deceit and betrayal and life the way he knows it and does it, our interpretation of that. And she can be over here in her own web, simultaneously doing love and light and empowering and standing in her power and setting her boundaries and believing in herself. And then we get the women and the collective behind her all doing a similar process together. And it's just like, whoop, amazing. Okay, quickly, 2 more. I am mindful of your time and how long this is going to be and how hard it's going to be to download, upload, and roundabout. But yeah, it's coming through. Addiction and habit. So binging, excessive. This is what I decided to do it on. Eating, drinking, always being right, always being wrong. Drama, TV, Netflix. People binge on Netflix. So what you do is I take that feeling and I give it a name. So you need to choose a name for it. And the relationship with it is that they can't stop it. Find myself doing it before I even realize. So you might find that you've drunk or you've eaten something, the pack of the chips, the pizza, the chocolate, and you don't even realize you've done it until after the fact that you've done it. And that's when you're in a bit of tricky trouble, but we can help you with that. Find myself doing it before I even realize. Often I don't even know I've done it until after the fact. So we're using excessive eating as an example. She's at an 8. The memory 2 nights ago, and most nights, to be honest, she said, I sat down after a full dinner of an unhealthy dinner, side note, and ate 2 packets of chips and a whole block of chocolate. So the traits of the chips and chocolate or energy of food was fixated. When she thought about food as an energy, she felt that the food was fixated and addictive. So of course, if you're projecting that energy out onto something, that's what's going to come back to you. So when, what does that make her feel? When the food is there, the behavior that's coming, or the feelings that are coming up for her is out of control, like a fraud, a loser at life, can't even control what I eat. And then if I can't even control what I eat, how could I get a partner or run a business or anything really? Like if I can't control what I'm putting in my mouth. So for her, it was a spiral downwards in all areas of life. Don't trust myself or life, and becoming unreliable and flaky. She snapped at her friends, procrastinated. She would start to tell white lies and would avoid people and situations, become lonely and isolated. So her lesson, her soul lesson, when we broke this contract, when we severed this cord with food or excessive eating or excessive anything really, that there was a gap in her life and she was filling it with food. She didn't have this awareness before this process. And the process is basically going along the top here, reading these tabs and then going deep and answering the questions. There was a gap and I was filling it with food. Now that she knows that, she can fill it with something else, right? Now that I understand that I can consciously choose what I fill it with, I choose connection to higher self, a meditation, or a more resourceful habit. Read a book or write in my journal. So she's gone from an 8 down to a 3. Mind blowing. And last one, money, money, money. There's going to be more than one of you that need this, so I won't rush it. Now, this actually was one of my favorite ones. The client and friend that did this went from an 8. I reckon it was even higher than an 8. You could see it in her eyes and her face. And the name that she gave money was just like hard work. You just had to come up for a name. And I was like, what would you call money if you had to give it a name? She's like, oh, it's just hard work. I was like, okay, we'll put in hard work there. So you think of the name for money. Current relationships, she was still fearful and she was mindful of it. It got something over me, like she felt like money had this power over her. Now, who else has kind of felt that up here about your dad, your mum, your siblings, your child, your friend, your ex-partner, your current partner, your addiction and habit? Do you feel like they've got a power over you? So money had this power over her, this unspoken power, this unspoken invisible cord, as I like to say. So still fearful, mindful, something over me, it controls her. And it's worried about what it thinks. So she's already done a lot of work with me, created a relationship with money. We've done the money story. She'd done the stuff at the retreat and a few other little things, but this invisible cord just needed to be cut. So specific traits or actions. Upstemming, obviously you just change it a little bit if it's a person, place, energy, or thing. So here, the memory. The memory for her was like checking her bank account and seeing it gone into the red. I've forgotten to write it there, but I'll add that. It had gone into the red. That was the memory. So she's actively trying to think positive about it and asking, why are you doing this to me? You're not keeping your end of the bargain, because she had started on the journey. And if you've seen the Stuck to Scene, she was probably in more self-aware, changed her dialogue with money, started her positive affirmations, and was doing all the right things to move forward and get more abundance. But she hadn't severed the contract, the unspoken contract of vowing to poverty or being controlled by it. So after we got through this process, I can't wait to talk to her. It was only a couple of days ago, and see what's happened for her in her money. It was the biggest, like, cloud partying, music playing, orchestra band. It's crazy powerful. So then we move into, what does it make you feel? So she was feeling disappointed, let down, frustrated, sad, lost, and abandoned. So when there wasn't enough money there for her, she was having a full trauma response. And you say that to anyone else, you sound crazy. But when you check your bank account and you're a parent and you think you can't feed or clothe your kids or shelter them, I know, because I went through it just over a year ago, when Gus lost his job. And for 2 weeks, we were just like, what just happened? How are we going to keep our house? How are we going to shelter and clothe our kids if you're the breadwinner and you're not getting any bread anymore? Where's the bread? How do we part bread when there's no bread? Well, we bake some more. That's what you do, people. So feeling abandoned, rejected, having this total trauma response. And when she feels like she just like, give up, I'll find another way, stick the head in the sand, pretend it doesn't exist. How many of you do that? Okay, so this was huge. It's written in capital letters. So yin and yang, her soul lesson, the soul lesson, yin and yang. There is duality to everything, like nature. And I've only been conscious and giving energy to the fear, the lack, the uncertainty, and the negativity. The truth is that it is whole, and I get to choose my part in this. So remembering her, like, obviously this has been a pretty big job getting this and pulling it all together. Remembering back to that moment when this beautiful lady was sharing, it was like, oh my gosh, Di, it's just like nature. It ebbs and it flows. And the meaning I've given it when there wasn't enough is that I'm abandoned, or I'm not worthy, or I don't need it to be happy. But when we change that meaning around, when she got her soul lesson with it, it's just ebbs and it flows. Now, there's other modules in the mastermind where we can raise your financial thermostat. What's going on here? Your blueprint, you've all got one. You don't even know what it is consciously. So we pick it out, identify it, acknowledge it, and basically raise it. We raise the standard of your life. There was months there that when, like, my biggest goal in business was 10 grand a month. And I thought all the cows were coming home at 10 grand a month because I was not earning up even probably anything at that stage. So I thought 10 grand was a big kahuna. I got to 10 grand in a year or two, a month. Now I'm at the point, so that was a lot. And that was when I would be celebrating and buying myself the special little milestone and celebration thing. And then what happened was 10 grand a month became, oh my gosh, it was only 10 grand a month. Because we were up leveling, right? We were scaling. It's only 10 grand. Okay, where'd we go wrong? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Let's dissect that. I raised my financial thermostat, and it's no right or wrong. You get to choose the numbers. Often you'll choose subconsciously what your parents got paid together, and then you will recreate that. Even if you don't know it, it's an energy. And when I was taught that, I went, because it's an awkward conversation to have, right? Went home to my parents. I was like, how much did you guys earn overall a year as we were in, and what my mum and my dad collectively earned, because it's not something you usually talk about. I didn't know consciously, almost to the dollar within the tens is what I was earning when, it's mind blowing. So having this understanding that you've got this financial thermostat. Once you cut the invisible cord, the power, the control that you think money has over you, we raise your financial thermostat. We neutralize any fear around it. We're clear about your soul purpose. Can you all see why I'm doing so well and my business is doing so well? It's not that I'm any different to you. It's because I have these tools at my fingertips and I know how to create them and build them now because I cut and severed the cords with the computer that was holding me back and felt like it controlled me. Still some work to do there. There probably always will be, but I have this freedom now to get out here and build tools like this and be able to speak to you guys for this amount of time and have you listen to it again and again and again and again and refer back to it and share it with your friends and get out there and absolutely revolutionize and transform your life. So you're going to go through here, you're going to listen to this, you can double time me, whatever you need to do. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn to dissect and pull apart and get really honest and really real. Let me stop the share. It's your turn to get really honest and really real about your life, what's holding you back, where these invisible cords, what your brain's doing, the meaning that you've given things, the action or the inaction that you're taking, and just identifying and acknowledging it so we can then direct it. We can change your life from the inside out, and it's not hard. It's not more hard work. It doesn't cost you any money. You're in the mastermind or you're signed up in the VIP. You've got it here for $80 a month. And then you've got the community on top of that. Like I said, get yourself an accountability partner and get going. No more excuses. You've got it all here at your fingertips. Signed, sealed, and delivered. You're going to go through this process by the end of the month. I invite you all to have as much done as possible and keep revisiting it. Come back, because these things reset, these things, other people come into your life and you're going to have to do it again and again and again, but you've got it here now. So there is no excuses. I'm so excited for you. I can feel the release and the lift off and the freshness for all of you. And I can't wait to see you all in person or over there on an online event soon. Thank you for joining me, and enjoy the cutting of those invisible cords, my friends.